Okay, let's start reading Umineko no Naku Koro ni. And okay, it's upsetting content today because there is child abuse. Okay, just as a warning, it's gonna be a very upsetting episode. Let's continue. Okay, so it's not happy fun time. Okay? Like, if Umineko, if Higurashi is like... If you thought it was upsetting to have Sadako be abused, well, it's also in Umineko, so, yeah. So let's read. So, on the 10th twilight, the journey ends. And you reach the Golden Land. You really are diligent, Maria. You did a good job running this all down.
I forget a lot, so I always write things down. Mama told me to.
There was a notebook inside the handbag Maria always has carrying around, and Beatrice's epitaph was copied onto it. Thanks to that, we were all able to challenge the puzzle of the epitaph while walking down this beach. Jessica and the rest had already tried to solve it several times and had already gotten bored with it. However, since this was a first for me, I was so excited that I couldn't stop. It really tickled my sense of adventure. Let's start with the first line. Behold the sweet fish river running through my beloved hometown. Where was grandfather's hometown again? I heard that before the war, the Ushiromiya family had a mansion near Odawara, which makes you want to know which sweet fish river flows through Odawara, right? Yeah, because that river would be the starting place. Anyone searching for the Golden Land would be headed down that place in search for the key. What's this river in Odawara? Does it have sweet fish swimming in it? If you're looking for sweet fish in Odawara, it'd have to be Hayakawa. It's famous for its mountain stream fishing.
I hate fish.
So do I. Maria, you'll understand when you get a bit older. Lick, lick, lick. Salty roasted sweet fish. Yummy! Even though we just ate, I'm getting hungry again.
Shall I bring you a biscuit?
Huh? Oh, sorry. That's not what I meant. Don't mind it. Shannon was faithfully keeping us company since she didn't have any afternoon chores for a while. I would have thought that since she was a servant accompanying us, would force her to take care of us and tire her out, but that didn't seem to be the case for her. On the contrary, she seemed to enjoy joining in on a conversation with people close to her age. When I asked, I heard she was a sort of worker whose room and board were supplied by her employer. So, normally, the only person close to her age was Jessica. Yeah, I can imagine how that might be pretty dull. Okay, so I get that the Sweetfish River near Odawara is Hayakawa. In that case, we gotta go down it. Do you find anything if you head down the Hayakawa River?
If you follow it downstream, you'll arrive at the ocean.
Of course you'd reach the mountain of the river. And the third line of the epitaph, as you travel down it, you will see a village. By the way, since long ago, the mouths of rivers have been key points in transportations, and large cities tend to be built there. That'd be the next checkpoint. That's a pretty good theory. Just like you guessed, there's an old city there that was very prosperous in ancient times. That's where Odawara Castle is.
I think I might have gone to Odawara Castle on a field trip once. It really was a wonderful castle.
Yeah, I also went there. Even though I live in a Western-style house, it's true that Japanese people feel calmer with a Japanese layout.
Castles are boring. Theme parks are better.
I see. Okay, if we find the gold, the Great Battler will generously reserve a whole theme park for a day and let you play in it. Still, Odawara Castle, huh? The hidden goal of Odawara Castle. Huh? It's actually starting to sound pretty good. Well, we figured that much out 2 years ago. The village down the river where the sweet fish swim is in Odawara. We figured it was probably somewhere near Odawara Castle. The problem is the next line. Okay, let's see where Battler's strange reasoning can take him. Jessica grinned broadly. She seemed to be implying that she would have solved the puzzle long ago if it was that easy. Damn it! I'll definitely find it and keep it all for myself. By the way, I don't think it's possible to solve it in English. I forget. Because you can only solve it in the original stuff. Like, in the original Japanese stuff. Because of, like, wordplay stuff. I don't freaking know. The fourth line. In that village, look for a shore the two will tell you of. I don't know what it means by the two, but anyway, the shore. What does it mean by the shore? No, wait. Is there any place near with the shore or Kishi in its name?
I've heard there's a place called Sogakishi in Odawara.
Huh? Oh, wow! You sure know a lot about it. What could that mean? Shannon, are you trying to solve the riddle and get the gold too? That makes us rivals!
It's not like I'm interested in gold. It's just that George told me about it before.
That's because we reached the same conclusion 2 years ago. We even went to the trouble of laying out the map and looking it up. It was about 5 kilometers to the north of Odawara. We definitely found a place called Sogakishi there. However, after that, we get stuck. The fifth line doesn't say where the key is hidden in that place. Maria, could you read it for us?
There sleeps the key to the Golden Land. I can read it!
Sogakishi is probably large, and there wasn't ever any house built there by the Ushiramiya family. Not much we can do to find a key in such a vast area without any hints. You're right, and without the key, we can't advance to the next line. George, what kind of place is Sogakishi? Let's see. I've never been there, so I don't really know, but according to the map, it's in the mountains. I'm pretty sure it was at the base of Mount Asama. Something doesn't feel right. You would expect a riddle pointing the way to the hidden goal to be a bit more exact. I get the feeling that even the part about Sogakishi was a mistake. Well, I think it could be Sogakishi. It could be talking about some house that Grandfather lived in when he was a kid that we don't know about. After all, the first line mentioned his beloved hometown. Shannon, you served Grandfather alcohol tons of times, right? Has he ever talked to you about his past?
The master almost never speaks of the past. However, he talks of the Great Kanto earthquake as though it was someone else's story. So you may have been living far away from the Kanto area.
The Ushiramiya family may have been living in Odawara, but not all the branch families were. Grandfather would often call himself part of a branch family, the least connected to the successor. And that means the beloved hometown might not even be in Odawara at all. I bet you won't even be able to guess where Kinzo's hometown was. Okay? Because I would have never guessed it. I've never heard anything about Grandfather's hometown, and I doubt he'd actually tell me if I asked. If the so-called beloved hometown isn't referring to the Ushiramiya family's roots, then the Odawara theory is wrong from the beginning. Of course, this doesn't completely remove the possibility that it was Sogakishi. For example, perhaps he lived in Odawara when he was very young, but then moved far away later.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Maria had been completely left out of the conversation, and as she sat puffing out her cheeks in boredom. So basically, if we can't even agree on the starting point for this dice game of gold, we're totally stuck. But wait, after the first 5 lines, the thing we end up finding is a key, right? Even if you don't have a key, it's always possible to bust through a door. Can we just skip the first 5 lines and start figuring out the rest? Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Oh well, we're just wasting time anyway. Let's hear the rest of Balor's reasoning.
But in the next part, it gets dark really fast.
Shannon frowned slightly. After looking back at Maria's notebook to recall what was written there, yeah, I was forced to agree. On the first twilight, offer up the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. Sure does get horrible quickly. On the second twilight, it says to tear about the 2 who are close. Does that mean to make them break off their loving relationship? Or does it mean to literally tear them apart? I don't know, but either way, it's pretty disgusting. Even if we get to the second line aside, it mentions 6 people for the first twilight, then 5 people for the 4th through 8th twilights. So at least 11 people must be sacrificed.
There's sacrifices to revive Beatrice!
I see. Sacrifices to restore the witch. Yeah, that's what it means. Near the end, the witch will be revived on the 9th twilight. That last part is guaranteed.
On the ninth twilight, the witch shall revive, and none shall be left alive. So everyone will die in the end.
And after that, the 10th twilight is the goal line. Not sure how you're supposed to reach the goal now if everyone's dead by then. Depending on how you interpret it, the traveler who holds the key may or may not be included in the none shall be left alive part. But at the end, there's something pretty interesting. After reaching the goal, the witch gives out 4 treasures. One shall be all the gold. The problem is the next one. It says the dead souls will be resurrected, right? Doesn't that sound like it means everyone who died in the earlier lines?
If you put it like that, then the part about reviving lost love might refer to the pair torn apart on the second twilight.
That's right! And the 4th one refers to the 9th twilight. The 4th treasure is putting the witch revived on the 9th twilight to sleep. If we put a happy spin on all this, it'll be hectic with people dying and breaking up all over the place, but it'll all be made up right in the end. The awakened witch will sleep again, and everything will be like it was at the start, except with a huge pile of gold. That witch must be pretty busy with all that killing, reviving, breaking up, and reuniting people. Not to mention waking up and sleeping. Sheesh, just when the tale of the hidden gold was getting interesting, it all gets pretty dubious once the witch starts showing up. Too true! I laughed along with Jessica. After all, the idea of a witch is just too ridiculous. Of course, once we started laughing like that, Maria, who believed in the witch, got angry.
Ah! The witch is incredible! She can do anything with magic! Even kill! Even bring back to life! Even give love! Even take it! She can fly in the sky, can become invisible, can make gold and bread out of nothing! Ah! 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 Ah!
Dang, my bad, we were just joking. Jessica apologized, sticking out her tongue, but Maria didn't accept it. She grabbed her notebook back out of my hands and, opening some other pages, tried to prove the witch existed. By the way, if anybody goes after Maria, I will get mad. She is my baby, okay? I kin her. I was that annoying kid growing up. I will protect her with everything I've got. Anyway, those pages had colorful drawings of witches on them, and well, conveyed the fantastical image Maria had of witches. It wasn't the normal sinister image of a crooked-nosed hag flying around on a broom, but a dreamlike person with unnatural powers who could do anything and wore a beautiful dress. It was just what you would expect from an imaginative young girl. As for me, I was into Sun Wukong and Journey to the West and Dragon Ball and Wuxia and Chinese stuff because I'm Chinese. Fitting through the sky, crossing a rainbow, dancing around all night with a teacup and a teapot that would never get empty no matter how much you poured out of it. With a flourish of her staff, the stars in the sky would become candy and pour down, and flowers that produced sweets would bud by the roadside. To Maria, witches were the only concept that could embody the magical dream that so captivated her. As she grew older, it was the last remaining thing that would give her richness to her dull and plain everyday life. That's why Maria believed in witches. Gosh, way to put it, Battler. It's really depressing for me. Because I'm like an extreme escapist. She didn't want that dream of hers to be tarnished. That's why she didn't want anyone to tarnish the epitaph, which affirmed the existence of witches. Because the witch named Beatrice is Maria's dream. I'm not going to talk much about my kind of thing. But if you look at my art, and I try to explain that stuff, you can kind of get it, I guess. I don't know. But I don't appreciate people who disparage things like that. Okay? To Maria, the epitaph isn't a guide to the hidden gold, but magic to revive the witch. So it was a single link between Maria and the witch. Maria is very angry and clung to George. Jessica and I scratched our heads and apologized. It might not be possible to smooth things over again like the time she got mad in front of the portrait. Maria didn't seem willing to be easily consoled. Unlike Jessica and I, who hung our heads wondering what to do, Shannon timidly opened her mouth.
Maria, did you know? There's a ghost story about Beatrice that's been passed down among the servants.
Yeah, that's right! Shannon, tell us about it. I don't really know, but it's apparently pretty famous among the servants. What is this? A ghost story? Yes, it seems a story from before we were born. I also heard about it from my mother.
Yes. It's been passed down since the time of the mansion's construction. The servants at the time whispered the mansion had two masters, one of day and one of night.
The tale that Shannon told was like a typical campfire ghost story. If there was a forest with a witch living inside of it, then of course the witch would come pay the mansion a visit from time to time. At some point, this ghost story naturally sprouted up between the servants.
When people do the rounds a second time to check the doors, windows, and locks that are supposedly closed, they find some of them left open. Lights that were supposed to be off were turned off, and lights were supposed to be on went out. Things left lying around would disappear, and things would appear when no one had any memory of putting them there. When any of these things happened, the old servants would say the witch had visited the mansion invisible and was playing pranks. Ah! See? She exists! Beatrice exists!
Yeah, she exists. Long ago, it was always right before leaving for school. I wasn't able to find my bag and stuff. Maria puffed out her chest with an ooh, as though this was a final proof of the witch's existence. If I opened my mouth, Maria would probably be hurt again, so I didn't. Yeah. I mean, I got cynical later on. If you become self-aware of the fact that it hurts. Anyway. I mean, you hear this kind of story everywhere. Depending on the place, they might blame it on a dwarf or an elf. The only difference is they call it a witch on this island. Of course, walking around a vast, elegant mansion at night would be a little unsettling. It's an island devoid of people. So the mansion is so drafty, walking around on the night of the thunderstorm would certainly be eerie.
In addition to some of the servants have also seen will-o-wisps and glittering butterflies dancing around. Kano also saw something like that when he went patrolling one night, and recently, you often hear servants talking about strange footsteps heard inside the mansion near midnight. We whispered together that Beatrice in the portrait sometimes makes herself invisible and walks through the mansion. It even happened a little while ago, but even I have heard footsteps while patrolling at night that resemble these stories.
Whoa, that's scary.
But there's nothing to be afraid of. Beatrice is another ruler of this mansion, separate from the master. So there's no need to be unnaturally afraid. If you respect her, I hear she won't do anything bad.
However, she can be quite terrifying if you don't respect her, right?
Correct. I've heard that just before I began working here. Someone who spoke badly about Beatrice fell down the stairs and quit after receiving a large injury to their back. Because of that, there's a rumor between the servants that Beatrice's anger had been brought down upon this person. Anger will definitely be brought down on Balor and Jessica.
I'm sorry. I don't want her anger brought down upon me. I apologize, Maria. Of course, I also apologize to the witch. I'm sorry, Beatrice. Please forgive an outsider's nonsense. I apologize as well. I'm sorry, Beatrice. Will the witch be able to forgive us now?
Don't know. Witches are fickle, so they forgive when they want to and don't when they don't.
That's no good. Maria, isn't there some kind of good luck charm that would prevent Balor and Jessica from suffering Beatrice's wrath? Maybe something that can block against magic. By relying on Maria, who was proud of knowing the most about witches, George is trying to revive her self-esteem. Once again, I've gotta admire his ability to calm kids down. After taking a moment to cross her arms and seriously ponder whether there might be a charm that could save us, she started flipping through the pages in her notebook. I thought it was just a scribbled diary, but there also seemed to be quite a few pages that looked like they'd come from a book on black magic. Maria solemnly considered a group of these pages which contained things that looked like magic circles. Apparently, Grandfather wasn't the only one with a black magic hobby. When Maria finally found what she was looking for, she snapped the notebook shut and threw it in her handbag. She began fishing through that bag's contents. There seemed to be various jumbled things in there. After a while, she took out various pieces of junk, although they were probably important magical items to Maria, and repeatedly threw them back in, saying that they were wrong. It was all a little humorous, just like when Doraemon took out the wrong tool. Finally, she seemed to discover what she was looking for. With a face that was unimaginably cheery when compared to the intense expression she had worn until now, she held out those to Jessica and me. I grabbed it and saw it was a very cheap-looking charm. It looked like a bracelet made from a plastic rosary, with a scorpion-themed medal attached. Haven't you ever seen these cheap Zodiac-themed accessories? The kind you might win in a crane game in an arcade? It really looked like something like that. There were two of them. Probably one for me and one for Jessica. However, the very fact that there were two of them made them feel more like cheap manufactured goods, making it pretty hard to think of them as magical items. You're giving these to me in Battler?
Ah! With these charms, you won't even need to worry about Beatrice, because scorpions have the power to ward off magic.
Huh? Really? Didn't know scorpions could do that.
Ah! Battler doesn't believe! Ah! Ah! Ah!
I said too much and angered Maria again. Maria took out her notebook again, pointing out various pages as she went on and on about how the scorpion had such incredible holy power that had been used in magic-repelling magical circles since ancient times. I heard about that from someone other than young servants. Something about how the scorpion is drawn as magic-repelling symbols in sorcery. Huh? Really?
Ah! The scorpion protects against bad magic and calamity. An emerald brings peace to the heart. Therefore, its effects are twofold. Ah!
It's true. The scorpion wraps around the emerald and protects it. Yes, that certainly does sound like it'd work well. I really wanted to make fun of those worthless-looking charms, but as I watched Maria explain with all her heart and realized that she found them for our sakes, I started to feel like it might actually work, even if it's just a prize from some game center. Do not advocate for magic crystal healing, but, I mean, it's fun for fiction writing, that's for sure. Like, you can take pseudoscience and then write into fiction that it can be useful for something at least. No, don't use it for reality. Just saying. The material quality of the charm didn't matter. What mattered was the strength of her feelings. Even if I don't think of myself as some sort of loser who laughed at something like that. Okay, thank you. I apologize to Beatrice, but even if I do end up getting cursed, I'd be safe now thanks to Maria's charm. Right, Jessica? Yeah, that's right! Thanks, Maria.
Ah! Wear it on your arm when you want your heart to be at peace. Put it in your wallet and your money will decrease. If you want to hang it from a doorknob, bad things can't get in. It's a really convenient charm.
What an incredible effect! If Maria gives it her confident seal of approval, then it surely must be reliable. Shannon clapped her hands together and Maria stuck out her chest. She was totally in a good mood again. It's probably best if we let her lead the conversation a bit longer, if it'll keep her in such a good mood. Come to think of it, she looked a bit bored when we were getting excited about the hidden gold, probably because she couldn't keep up. When eating the cookies Kumasawa had baked, Jessica and I had asked Maria this and that about black magic. Maria happily chatted away in response to her questions. Each time George and Shannon would act surprised or chimed in. The clouds in the sky grew darker and darker, but we cousins really enjoyed communicating freely after a year of separation. Did I just feel a drop on my forehead? I wonder. As George rubbed his forehead, he looked up at the sky. Considering the color of the sky and the dampness of the air, it wouldn't be odd for a raindrop to hit him. The wind also seemed to have grown a bit stronger.
Didn't feel a drop. Only I didn't.
Don't worry, neither did I. Anyway, I'm sure it'll rain so much tonight that everybody will get plenty of raindrops. That's right. Maybe we should head back soon. Shannon looked down at her watch. It was probably well into the evening by now. Is it already time for you to return to your work?
Yes. Thank you very much for allowing me to enjoy some time together with you all.
Tell Kumasawa thanks for the cookies. Okay, everyone. How about with the cleanup? Shannon declined our help, saying that this was a servant's job. But picking up a dropped fork before the waitress has, my purpose in life. We folded up the blanket and gathered up the trash and helped clean everything up.
The trash is getting away!
I won't let it escape. I'll grab it before Maria does.
I'll grab it!
Maria, don't get your shoes wet. You'll get in trouble. To Maria, chasing after some trash sent flying by the powerful winds was just another game. By the time we finished, the wind was blowing pretty strongly. Probably a good time to head back.
You've all helped me out a lot. Thank you very much.
It looks like you were really out of time. It's okay if you head first. George perceived from her hurried appearance that very little of her free time was left. Genji's very strict about time. If you don't show up where you're supposed to be at the right time, I bet he'll be pissed. We'll see you later. Do your best with your work.
Yes. Then, if you excuse me.
After making a respectful bow, Shannon ran toward the rose garden. Okay, let's head back to the guest house. We can watch TV or something and relax a little.
Ah! Wanna watch TV? Wanna watch TV? Ah!
Then it's decided. Let's all head back and watch TV together. Maria, who wasn't done having fun, agreed once the television was mentioned. We climbed up the gentle stairs and returned to the rose garden. Okay, this is when things start to get upsetting. This is the scene where Rosa will show up and things will be upsetting. Okay? If you're not comfortable with the topic of child abuse, back away now. Okay? The wind had grown very strong, and the roses shook throughout the garden like ripples on the water. This might be our last chance to see these beautiful roses. I bet tonight's typhoon ruins them. Those roses might be done in by tonight's winds. You're right. Still, I think the roses were pretty lucky. After all, they got to welcome all of you before the typhoon. All the flowers lose their petals eventually, but that means we can admire them even more when they're in bloom. That's right! Maria, burn this image to your very eyes. At this moment, they're the best roses of the year.
Ugh, burn in the eyes.
Right then, Maria suddenly clapped her hands. It looked like she remembered something.
My rose! The typhoon was in it flying! Ah!
Oh, you mean that sad-looking rose George marked with a ribbon? Maria apparently remembered where the rose was. She ran at full speed. The rest of us followed her. Where was that again? I'm sure it was somewhere around here. We searched everywhere around the area. There was only a single flower among these roses after all. Even though we knew it was somewhere close by, we weren't able to find it. Some people like to theorize that Goda used it to cook the panna cotta. Anyway, I'm sorry. The winds making the typhoon's front lines made roses throughout the garden undulate. It was almost like it was teasing us by making the location of Maria's rose impossible to find. Maybe it wasn't here. Let's try spreading out a bit in our search. Sounds good. Let's go for strength in numbers. What's up, Maria? As we made up to split and search, Maria tugged on my jacket with an unhappy face. You could tell she didn't want us to leave that spot. What is it? What's wrong?
My rose is here! It's here!
But it's actually not, right? Maybe it was on the other side of the flower bed. If we all look, we'll find it fast, okay?
It's here! My rose is here! Look for it! Look for it!
Maria stomped her feet in irritation. She pointed at the spot and said it was definitely there, but in actuality it wasn't. Even so, Maria got mad when we said we were going to search elsewhere. We were at a loss for what to do. For a while, we had to stay near Maria and pretend to search through that rose thicket.
Not here! Not here! Not here!
Maybe she's saying that it should be here, but it isn't. Maria became increasingly irritated. Oh man, Maria's really losing her temper. Sometimes Maria starts to really care about pointless stuff. If she gets what she wants, that's okay, but you can't find something that isn't there. That's not good. Just when we were at a loss of what to do, Maria called out in a loud voice. Okay, here's your chance to back away now, because Rosa is gonna be a terrible mom here. Okay, a final warning. We could see Aunt Rosa in the direction Maria was waving her hand. Maybe she wanted to look at the garden one more time before the typhoon came, or maybe she had some business at the guest house. Aunt Rosa was coming from the mansion. She quickly noticed her daughter's voice and came over. My, what happened, everyone? Are you looking for something?
Look for it! Mama! You look for my rose too!
Your rose? We found an unhealthy rose around here and marked it. We tied a candy wrapper around it. But, Maria, if I remember correctly, it was growing right in front, and it really stood out, didn't it? Unless it grew legs and ran off somewhere, it must have been somewhere else. Maybe you remembered it wrong. How many times do I have to tell you to stop saying ooh before you'll understand? Mama will look for it, so stay quiet! I never see Aunt Rosa be anything other than kind and gentle, so her anger surprised me a bit. Aunt Rosa began searching as well, so we went along with her for the time being. We were already more than sure that it wasn't around here. So it really didn't take long for Aunt Rosa to realize that too. The rose isn't here. Did you mistake this place for somewhere else? There are so many roses around.
That's wrong! It is here! Mama doesn't believe!
I already believed you and looked hard for it, didn't I? But it isn't here.
But it is here! It is here, but it isn't!
Then someone must have ripped it out. Anyway, stop saying ugh.
Who ripped out my rose? Who did? Give it back! Give it back!
How should I know? Stop saying ugh. Aunt Rosa slapped Maria's left cheek with her palm. In that instant, Maria was shocked into silence. Of course, it was only for an instant. When Maria realized her wish was being rejected, she started yelling even louder. Didn't I tell you to stop that weird habit? That's why all the kids in your class make fun of you! Cut it out! Once again, her palm slapped Maria's cheek. This time she didn't go silent. She choked as she started crying and began to bawl in an increasingly loud voice. Aunt Rosa was clearly irritated and lifted her hands once more to try and shut her daughter up. Aunt Rosa! Now, she's just a little kid, so there's no reason to get so serious. I tried to cut in with a bitter smile, rubbing my hands together. Aunt Rosa glared at me with a serious face, and I realized I should have stayed out of this. No, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. I'm sorry, but could the rest of you go back to your room for a bit? I need to have a little talk with Maria.
Nobody believes in my rose, even though it was here.
But it's not here, so you must have confused this place for somewhere else, right?
It is here! It's definitely here!
Then it disappeared! Give it up!
Why? Why did it disappear? Why?
I don't know that, so stop saying ugh. Aunt Rosa once again raised her hand, overcome by emotion, and slapped Maria's cheek. It was strong enough to knock Maria over. Hey, Aunt Rosa! Even if she is your daughter, violence isn't the answer. I stepped between them to protect Maria, who was still on the ground crying, ugh. Anyway, if anybody advocates for physically abusing your child, fuck off. Okay? Just saying. Fuck off. I knew that as an outsider, problems between parent and child were none of my business. No! But I wasn't brought up to just silently observe something like this. Don't you think it's weird, Battler? Are there any girls at your school who mutter, ooh? Well, I am in high school, but for an elementary schooler, I think saying ooh is pretty cute. Cute? Saying ooh is cute? Cute? My careless words seemed to have earned me Aunt Rosa's wrath. She grabbed my collar with a terrifying expression. Don't say such nonsense! Do you know how old Maria is? She's 9! She's a 4th grader, not a kindergartner! But she still makes that sound during class! Don't you get it? Do you know what they say about this kid when they bully her? Thanks to this weird habit, she still hasn't made a single friend! Don't you have your eyes from reality when you carelessly call Maria cute? Think more seriously about this kid's future! I told you to stop making that sound! Didn't I tell you to stop it? Aunt Rosa struck Maria's quivering head, from which an increasingly unhappy voice was rising. I tried to stop it, but Aunt Rosa pushed me away. My back hit George. A long time ago, Aunt Rosa also thought of it as nothing more than one of Maria's baby words. But now that it hasn't been fixed even midway through elementary school, she's been worrying about it a lot. How she talks isn't that big of a deal, right? She'll never make it as an adult if she's like that. Fuck that shit! So even though it isn't fun to watch, this is a problem between parent and child. Fuck off, George! Balor's got it! I mean, at least he tried to do something. Well, even if I get chewed up by Mama all the time because of how I talk, when they put it that way, maybe even a scene as pitiful as this isn't something an outsider like me should butt in on. No! No! Battler, when you were a kid, didn't you have any bad habits that you couldn't fix that got you into trouble? Well, 1 or 2. On Parents' Day, I kept getting yelled at in front of everyone. It was embarrassing as all hell. Well, then you can understand how the 2 of them must feel right now. I'm sure they don't want us to be here right now. You understand too, don't you, Jessica? I don't think anyone likes to be seen when they're being scolded. Let's go. We'll return to the guest house. Then, after Maria comes back, let's welcome her as if nothing happened. It's probably for the best, isn't it? We thought George's point was probably a reasonable one, and we might have been eager to use that reasonable-sounding argument as justification to retreat from this heart-rending scene. Jessica and I nodded at George and we left. We called to her Maria, telling her that we were going to head to the guest house. She didn't seem to hear, and we felt sort of guilty and shameless after saying it. In that case, look by yourself as much as you want. Mama doesn't care. I'll look for it. I'll look for it by myself. Even if Mama doesn't care. Have it your way. After blasting her with those last few words, Rosa spun her heels and quickly returned to the mansion. Maria probably viewed that as a cold gesture meant to injure, but that wasn't Rosa's intention. It was probably because the hand which she had so emotionally struck Maria's cheek was still numb. It was because if she stayed there screaming, she might again be taken over by her emotions and continue slapping her daughter's cheek over and over. After Rosa left, Maria was left alone in the rose garden. The wind began to blow stronger and stronger, and every once in a while a raindrop would fall on her forehead. However, Maria couldn't leave that place. Not until she found that poor wilting rose. It had definitely been there. Even so, it wasn't. Even though she knew the place, even though it had been there, it wasn't. Maria bitterly stared at the place it was supposed to be and thought frantically, maybe the angle I'm looking from is wrong, maybe the height I'm looking from is wrong. While gazing at a single point, Maria repeatedly stood up and changed her position and continued to stare. The wind was getting stronger and stronger, but Maria kept looking for that rose in front of the flower bed. You know, I didn't get hit growing up, but I remember having to hear my family saying things like that, like Rosa. Like, even if parents don't hit you as a kid, and if they yell at you, it's still pretty bad. Anyway, okay. I would argue for me, like, yelling is violent in itself. Like, if it's like projecting like that, you know? I mean, I don't have the best temper, but but I remember I got in trouble all the time. Like, Rosa reminds me of people I know in real life. Except for the hitting part. Or the depth part, thank God. Anyway, Kinzo noticed the sound of raindrops beating on the window. It seemed to be pouring down thickly. It had begun to rain later than the weather report had predicted. Kinzo approached the window as if being summoned by the sound of the rain. The sound of the rain is the sound of silence. That sound feels quieter than any silence. It makes humans remember that in the end, they are alone from the moment they are born to the moment they die. "You're late, Beatrice." Those were the words directed at the rainy sky. There was no one to be seen in the direction of Kinzo's gaze. "Well then, let us begin. Let us begin our banquet of miracles. This island has now been cut off from the world. Now there is none who can interrupt my ceremony. There are many fitting sacrifices for you. 4 of my children, 3 of their companions, 4 of my grandchildren, me and my guests and my servants. You may devour as many as you please. The key of fate will select the sacrifice in accordance with the demon's roulette. That roulette chooses me. Even I will become your sacrifice. However, because of that, because I will bet on such madness, I will be most assuredly bring forth a grand miracle. Come, devour to your heart's content. I will achieve victory over that roulette. Yes, I'll put everything on the line. First, I'll return the inheritance to the Ushiromiya family. Accept it! Kinzo tore the window open, ripped a golden ring off his finger, and forcibly threw it away. At that time, the sound of the thunder rang out, giving the illusion the lightning had accepted the ring. And when you are resurrected, surely I will be the one who stands witness. I will survive until the end and watch over you as you awaken. So come, Beatrice. Welcome to my banquet! In exchange for all that I've created, show me another miracle just this once! Oh! Beatrice! A new sticker popped up on the top of the TV program we were watching. The disaster report told how many municipalities all over were continually sending out rain, flood, and wave warnings. Of course, the raindrops being harshly on the window were even more convincing. If you haven't guessed already... Oh wait, no, I won't say anything yet. This rain's incredible. Still, when it's raining this hard, it also feels like it might stop at any moment. You wish! They said the typhoon's moving slow, so it might be like this all day tomorrow, and even a little bad weather stops the boats from coming. It looks like we won't be able to head out on Sunday after all. Just in case, I cleared out all business from my Monday schedule, and I'm glad I did. Which means, looks like we get to skip school Monday. Yeah, fuck school. Living on an island's starting to sound pretty good. Come to think of it, Jessica, you gotta take a boat to school every day, don't you? What do you do when the boat stops running? You stay home when it rains and show up late when the wind's blowing, like King Kamehameha? Oh, are you talking about Roshi? That was one of my favorites growing up. If the boats don't come, I stay home. Still, it's not as good as it sounds. Usually I'm more to study by myself, and it's not that fun with somebody standing right behind you watching everything you do. Ew, Joe. Oh, yep. During the rainy season, does the weather ever stay bad for a long time and make you miss a bunch of days in a row? That does happen sometimes. Still, I'd get a call from my homeroom teacher every single day, who would sourly guide me on how I should teach myself and when I had to turn it in. She can't skip school as easily as you're imagining, Mallory. She's got to follow the rule for people to travel to school by boat and get a good amount of studying done. It'd actually be easier just to go to school. In my own room, I get distracted and can't concentrate. After being made to do nothing but workbooks for several days straight, it's pretty hard to handle all that mental stress. When I get into college, I really just want to go to some dorm and quickly say goodbye to this inconvenient island. Ah, okay. By the way, what do you do when the weather's good in the morning, but when it gets so bad on your way home, the boats are closed? Do you spend the night at school? That actually happens a lot. Because of that, they built some lodgings there for people who can't get back to the island they live on. That's where you spend the night. Sometimes when it gets really bad, you can't get back home for a few days at a time. Someone commuting to school or to work on a train packed at twice its capacity might carelessly think that commuting by boat would be pretty interesting and fun. But it sounds like it comes with troubles of its own. You hear thoughtless tourists say stuff like that all the time. I've had enough of this island life. I really just want to graduate high school and say goodbye to this island. But there are all dorm schools even for high school, right? Why'd you choose that Nichima school of all places? I wanted to go to one of those from the beginning, but Mom's always going on and on about how I learn manners and discipline as a successor. So I ended up sticking close to home, even for high school. Man, I hate this island. I just want to go live in the city. I don't care if it rains or even spears fall from the sky, as long as I can move to a city where I can wear casual clothes and sandals. And get to a convenience store in less than 5 minutes. Oh, man. I remember when I had to go to college, I was also not allowed to go to I was only allowed to go to, like, local places. So I had to take, if I wasn't being driven, I took 2-hour bus rides and all that stuff. And I wasn't allowed to live in a dorm. You want to know why? Because my family's super sexist. That's why. Because, like, oh, I'm a woman. What if my womanly parts or whatever happens? And then, or some stupid shit. Ugh. Anyway, I have a very old school family, okay? Old school Asian family. Like, the guys can live in the dorms, but the women are something to worry about. Because, oh my god, what if the girls embarrass their family? Or some shit like that. It's like, no, nobody gives a shit about us, okay? Anyway. Hold out just a little longer. Maybe just a bit more and you'll graduate high school, right? I can't wait a little longer. Jessica stretched out and reclined on the sofa. Maybe it was a bad time slot because there weren't any interesting programs on and we had nothing to do but languidly kill time until we were called for dinner. After that episode, Maria never returned to the cousin's room after all. Aunt Rosa probably took her place back to her mansion. It'd probably be pretty boring for Maria all by herself while the adults had a confusing conversation. We thought we might as well head over to the mansion to see her, but the weather really was awful, and since there wasn't much time until dinner, we stayed where we were. At that time, we heard the sound of a humble knock. Jessica answered. Yes! The preparations for dinner are complete. Please come to the mansion. It was Cannon's voice. Oops! Let me try that again. The preparations for dinner are complete. Please come to the mansion. It was Cannon's voice. Did he go to all the trouble of coming from the mansion in this rain just to get us? Couldn't he have just called us on the telephone? I guess the servants at work don't always get to take the most efficient route. Just when I was getting hungry. Let's go. George turned off the television and stood up. My stomach's been growling for a while. I've always been a huge fan of the family's main dinners. And didn't Goda say it was calf steak or something? Oh, I can't wait. Our dinners are always even more fabulous than usual when the family conference comes around. Even I'm looking forward to it. Let's go, let's go! As we left the room, Cannon bowed silently and respectfully. Okay, let's go! Is the rain pretty nasty out there? Yes. Take care not to get your garments wet. After seeing the three of us out, Cannon peered out into the empty room. Wasn't Maria with you? No, she's not. Wasn't she with Aunt Rosa? Rosa was lying on the sofa in the empty parlor, having fallen asleep before she knew it. She was bearing a burden that the children couldn't even imagine. That's why she only needed to let her guard down a little before the weariness immediately dragged her into the world of sleep. Realizing this, Genji brought over a blanket to her, and he tried to spread it over her. Her eyes snapped open as though she had been shocked with electricity. Thank you, Genji. When she realized that thing that touched her was a blanket, and that Genji had considerately given it to her, she let out a sigh of relief. Did I wake you? My sincere apologies. No, it's okay. I hadn't planned on sleeping in the first place. What time is it now? When he was asked for a long time, Genji checked a pocket watch, and he took it out of his chest pocket. It is slightly after 6. Rosa gave her head a little shake, when she realized not that much time had actually passed, even though it felt like she slept for ages. Even though she didn't feel rested at all, the drowsiness that had enveloped her must have been pretty deep. Thank you. I'll be fine without the blanket. I mustn't sleep at such a strange time. My sense of time has been completely thrown off. The rain has finally started pouring down in earnest, hasn't it? Rosa finally realized that peaceful sound that had put her to sleep was actually the rain. The wind's blowing hard too. I wonder if the typhoon's finally here. That's what they said on TV. The typhoon's moving slowly, so they think it'll be like this all day tomorrow. Really? Oops. Let me try that again. The wind's blowing hard. Wait, the wind's blowing hard too. I wonder if the typhoon's finally here. That's what they said on TV. The typhoon is moving slowly, so they think it will be like this all day tomorrow. Really? So our last chance to see that wonderful rose garden must have already passed by. From the window, what she could see of the rose garden was completely blurred by the wind and rain. Maria. That's right. What about Maria? I have not seen her. Did she not return to the guest house? Rosa knew her daughter's nature well, so a chill ran down her spine. Maria was stubbornly honest. If she was ordered to find something that didn't exist, she would look forever and ever. Even in the pouring rain. No. The cousins left before I did, so Maria was alone. Unless someone told her to stop, she'd stay there, even if it started raining spears, without even opening an umbrella. How could I have lost control of my emotions and done such a thing? Even though she'd known about Maria's simple honesty better than anyone, she once again lost control of her emotions and done something terrible. Maria! Rosa pushed Genji away and ran down the hall. The outside really looked like a typhoon. The rain was pouring down spectacularly. Maybe because of some aspect of the terrain, the winds were in typhoon class, so the umbrella wouldn't be torn out of one's hands. Even so, it was certainly a windy rain. There was no time to admire the roses being drenched. Anyway, I'm getting pretty worried about Maria. You don't think she's still rebelliously searching for the rose alone, do you? I wonder. Surely she wouldn't do in this rain. Or at least I wish I could believe that, but Maria sometimes gets really stubborn and intensely straightforward. We hadn't worried much, thinking Aunt Rosa had taken her back to the mansion. However, when Cannon had come from the mansion to call us and thought Maria was here, we got a little worried. I did not see her in the mansion, so I was sure she was here. After all, Rosa was taking a nap. Let me try that again. I did not see her in the mansion, so I was sure she was here. After all, Rosa was taking a nap. You didn't see her on your way over here? My apologies. I opened my umbrella and ran as fast as I could, so I didn't pay much attention. If he had cut through the rose garden, taking the shortest line between the mansion and the guest house, he would have just barely missed the place where Maria had been looking for her rose. And it was raining this hard, too. It certainly would have been possible for Cannon to fail to notice her. Instead of arguing around here, it'd be faster just to check it out directly. Aniki, why don't we race over there? Oh, you think you can beat me now that you've been growing for 6 years? Okay, let's sell this. Go! George and I flew out into the rain. Jessica and Cannon followed us. Maria! If you're there, answer me! Maria! It's Aunt Rosa. Hey, Aunt Rosa! George called out back, and Aunt Rosa jumped at him and grabbed onto him. Where's Maria? Isn't she with you? No, we didn't even out with Maria after that. Maria! 6 years ago, Maria was 3 years old. She was a cute and pure kid who just accepted whatever anyone said. But 6 years have passed since then. She's 9 now, and experiencing the ups and downs of life should have taught her something. But Maria, are you telling me you're still as innocent and pure as you used to be? Maria! As I circled around the rose bed, something white unexpectedly turned to face me. It was a white umbrella. Maria was crouching down, holding a white umbrella, and still searching for that rose. Her face, which had turned bright red from her crying her eyes out, was dirty with water and mud. It was truly a pitiful sight. Maria! Are you still looking?
Can't find it. Can't find my rose.
Maria had probably been there since the rain started pouring down. Her shoulders were freezing. She looked tired to the bone, but fortunately, since she was holding an umbrella, she wasn't completely soaked. The umbrella probably came from the handbag Maria always carried around. Thank goodness. Seriously, thank goodness. Battler, thank goodness you found her. Maria! I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Aunt Rosa threw her umbrella aside and hugged Maria.
It's not here. My rose isn't here.
I'll look for her with you later, okay? So just put it on hold for today, okay?
Put it on hold for today.
It looked like Maria still wasn't able to accept it, but she no longer had enough energy left to resist. Just getting Cannon caught up with us. I'll have a towel ready in the mansion immediately. Maria! Were you here this whole time? I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being such a bad mother. Aunt Rosa, why don't we head back to the mansion for the time being? If we stay here, Maria will catch a cold. You're right. Maria, let's go. If we don't get you cleaned up, Grandfather will be mad.
Hungry.
It's already time to eat. You did a good job holding out, Maria. Once the weather gets better, we'll all go search together. We couldn't stay in that rain forever. We took Maria with us as we headed back to the mansion. Maria apparently wasn't as worn out as I thought. When she remembered we were having cow steak for dinner, she started chanting, "I'm hungry! I'm hungry!" And returned to her usual spirited self. Aunt Rosa didn't chide Maria for saying, "Ooh." I see. So she had an umbrella on her. Maria sure is good at packing the right stuff.
I didn't bring an umbrella.
What? Then how did you get that one umbrella you're holding?
I bought it.
Some caring person must have brought her an umbrella. A normal kid would look for shelter once it started raining, but Maria was too stubborn to give up so easily. So maybe that caring person gave up on telling Maria to find shelter and decided to at least give her an umbrella. I see. I'll have to thank that person. Who was it?
Bad JJ.
The name Maria cheerfully mentioned was that of the island's witch. Rosa took a deep breath and asked again, trying to do so in a way that wouldn't damage Maria's good mood. Really? That's wonderful. So who was it? Who bought you that umbrella?
Bad JJ.
Maria immediately realized that her mother didn't believe her and started crying out unhappily again. So Rosa stopped pursuing the subject. It'd probably be faster to ask whoever lent Maria the umbrella during dinner, rather than ask Maria herself. Father, please at least join us for dinner. It won't be a family conference otherwise. Along with a dull pounding on the door, the sound of Krause's entreaty could be heard. However, that voice seemed to be resigned to the fact that nothing it said would be heard. Kinzo, won't you at least come out for dinner? All your children have gathered here to see your face, haven't they? Silence, Nanjo, so the bishop won't worry. One move too short. Apparently, Kinzo was completely focused on the final battle, his long-lasting chess match with Nanjo. Kinzo's brow was wrinkled as he continued to glare at the game board through his spectacles. Krause's voice didn't reach his ears. Kinzo, I'm hungry myself. Why don't we go down and eat? Go by yourself if that's what you want. Let me consider this next move for a little longer. We're going to finish it tonight. Otherwise, it's doubtful we'll finish this before the world ends. Nanjo rose from his seat, hoping this would prompt Kinzo to do the same. But Kinzo's eyes never left the chessboard. He knew well that Kinzo always displayed a blind concentration when it came to chess. But he never seen Kinzo concentrate as hard as this. It was almost as though Kinzo was telling the truth, and there would never be another chance for them to continue their contest if they didn't finish it tonight. It seemed that, no matter how obstinately he called out to Kinzo, it wouldn't reach the latter's heart. Nanjo gave up, headed to the door that Krause was still banging on. The door to the study opened. Krause was taken aback, thinking that maybe Kinzo was actually coming out. However, Nanjo was the one who appeared, and Krause let out a sigh of relief. Dr. Nanjo, is Father... I'm so sorry I couldn't be of service. Right now, this room is Kinzo's whole world. Nanjo shook his head with a completely defeated expression. Krause raised his fist once more and banged on the door, shouting, Father, can you hear me? We're headed down now, but please join us anytime you feel like it. All your children are here waiting for you. His voice was very loud, and he was making a racket pounding on the door. There was no way it wouldn't reach Kinzo's ears. Well, it certainly was reaching him, but he ignored it anyway. However, unlike the time that he'd been called out for lunch, he didn't fly into a rage. By now, Kinzo was calm at heart, almost as though he had taken on a philosophical view and turned himself over to fate. Neither dinner nor the faces of my children interest me in the slightest. I will only leave here if Beatrice is resurrected or if I am chosen as a sacrifice for the key. The demon's roulette has already started spinning. What meaning does dinner have at this point? As though the painfully loud banging on the door completely failed to enter his hearing, Kinzo silently thought about his next chess move, still in his philosophical state. Just as always, Kinzo's figure couldn't be seen anywhere in the dining hall. Krause, wearing a bitter smile, returned with Nanjo. Father says he's still not feeling well. He truly regrets missing this once-in-a-year opportunity to sit together with his gathered family. Ava and Rudolph sniggered. Given Kinzo's personality, there was no way he'd show any signs of regret, and none of his relatives showed any regret at his absence. Then why don't we start dinner? Goda, begin. Certainly. Well then, if you will allow me. When Goda was told to start the family conference dinner, his biggest time to shine of the whole year, he nodded with a broad grin.
May I ask who lent Maria an umbrella?
When Rosa timidly cut through the silence of the dining hall, everyone noticed. An umbrella? What is this about?
A short while back, Maria was in the rose garden when it started raining, and she apparently borrowed a white umbrella from someone. I wanted to thank them.
It wasn't one of us. After he left, we moved to a different room and had a friendly chat that whole time. Haha, that's right. Even after that, the siblings had a real friendly chat. The word friendly felt awkward from Hideyoshi's lips, so even those who hadn't been present could tell the conversation hadn't been a pleasant one. At the very least, it couldn't have been me, Ava, Rudolph, Hideyoshi, or Kyrie. We were together the whole time, even after Natsuhi and Rosa left. The whole time until the meal started. Nii-san went to the side with Genji to call father. At the time, the rest of us went straight to the dining hall, so it wasn't one of us. Couldn't have been a servant kind enough to lend an umbrella. So, was it you, Goda? I have been in the kitchen the whole time preparing. My sincere apologies. Goda looked slightly disappointed about missing his chance to show off. At that time, Shano and Kumasawa appeared, pushing a serving cart loaded with hors d'oeuvres. I finally know how to say that word after many years. When I was like 8 or 9 or like 10 or something or 12, I used to pronounce hors d'oeuvres like from Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life is like horse d'oeuvres or something. Then what about Shannon or Kumasawa?
Yes? Has something gone wrong?
Because Shannon had come in part way, she shrank back, mistakenly thinking that the others were searching for one the responsible for some error. It isn't like that. It started to rain when Maria was alone in the rose garden. After that, someone lent her an umbrella. Aunt Rosa said she wanted to thank that person.
Beatrice!
Maria, her mouth in a thin line, said the witch's name in a small voice. Aunt Rosa explained the situation one more time. As she did, Kumasawa cackled. It wasn't us. Shannon and I were preparing the rooms together, so we did not go outside.
Yes. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be of assistance.
Preparing the rooms? What do you mean by that? Because of the rain, we thought it would be troublesome for all the guests to return to the guest house, so the servants were ordered to prepare the guest rooms inside the mansion. Really? How thoughtful. Yes, it certainly would be rude to chase us outside in this rain. Could you give it a rest?
Yes. After receiving the order from Madame, Kumasawa, Kanon, and I started preparing the rooms. Then it became time for dinner, so Genji ordered Kanon to go to the guest house and summon the children.
Yes, so did Kanon find Maria on the way to the guest house and hand her an umbrella.
Ah! Wrong!
The person who had actually received the umbrella denied it. Rosa was troubled. All she wanted to do was give a word of thanks to the person who had lent the umbrella, but she couldn't find them. She thought asking like this when people gathered for dinner would work immediately. Then, was it you, Natsuhi? I'm sorry. After everyone's friendly chat, my headache was so bad that I was resting in my room. Therefore, I did not go outside. Then, who was it? George and the kids? That can't be right. No, it wasn't us. We were watching television in the guest house the whole time. Actually, we thought Maria had just gone back to the mansion with you. When Kanon came, he asked whether Maria was with us, and that's when we first realized she wasn't in the mansion. I mean, if it were me, I'd grabbed her hand and pulled her under a roof before giving her an umbrella. Rosa was completely baffled. One by one, the relatives and the servants denied that they had done it, even though it really wasn't something that anyone would need to hide, so that the process of elimination, the number of remaining candidates wasn't large. Of course it wasn't me. Right after it began raining, I visited Kinzo's room and was playing chess with him until just now. Which means it also wasn't grandfather. Oh, wait a sec! Isn't this starting to get a bit weird? Who's left? Then, who was it? Genji? Huh? Wait a second. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm searching for some culprit or anything. All I want to do as a mother is thank the person who gave Maria an umbrella in the middle of the rain. Giving an umbrella to a girl loitering in the rain was something to be praised, not hidden. Despite that, no one had raised their hand. Why not? Everyone started whispering about how strange this was getting. Calm down, Rosa. Why don't we just ask the person who lent the umbrella? That's what everyone had been thinking since the beginning. They were all scratching their heads, so why she didn't just ask Maria who had been given the umbrella? However, Rosa bit her lower lip. After all, she already knew how Maria would answer if asked. Of course! Rudolph, Here's got it right. Maria, tell your uncle. Who lent you the umbrella?
Beatrice!
The dining hall was wrapped in silence for an instant, but was soon interrupted by a burst of laughter. I see. So Beatrice, the Witch of the Forest, felt pity and lent her an umbrella. What a lovely story. Rosa, there you have it. Rosa couldn't believe it. Even though she just wanted to say thanks for an umbrella, why did everything have to be so clouded in smoke?
Ah! Just like Uncle Crow said! Beatrice, let me borrow it! Ah!
Isn't that wonderful? We should all be jealous of such purity. What do you think, everyone? Kraus was laughing with a face that was clearly mocking. Fuck you, Kraus. But Maria was overjoyed, apparently convinced her claim was being believed. How did that work? Does that mean a witch really appeared and lent her an umbrella? Jessica asked me in a small voice that wouldn't carry over to Maria, who was sitting across from me. Has Maria ever been the type to make jokes? If we had heard that type of story pop out from my old bastard's mouth, we would have just taken it as another joke. However, it was hard to explain it away like that when Maria said it. This is getting pretty unnerving. No way! She's always been frank and serious. She's the sort who'd believe any joke, even ones normal people would instantly tell were lies. I've never even heard her cracking a joke. Aunt Rosa probably knew that better than anyone. It appeared that because of this weird situation, she had no idea what was going on anymore. So if Maria says she's borrowed an umbrella from Beatrice, that must mean it really was Beatrice? We're talking about Maria here, so I can't think of it as some kind of metaphor or joke. It might be best to take what she says at face value. Then what's going on? Are you saying Genji or someone put that fancy dress on for the portrait and gave Maria the umbrella? I'm not sure about that. Actually, that's what I want to know. Jessica shrugged jokingly, but her expression didn't completely match her attitude. Once the hors d'oeuvres were sent out and Goda showed off his vast knowledge, the meal began. A couple of casual chats. How did I say? Horse do viers or something? I don't know. A couple of casual chats broke out here and there, but they seemed somehow distant. And the meal ended up being so quiet you couldn't ignore the sound of the rain sneaking to the dining hall. I personally wouldn't have that problem. I'd just be gobbling away. People talk about atmosphere and I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? I eat food. Food is here. I like food. I eats. Kumasawa and Shannon pushed the serving cart and ran to Genji and Kanon on their way to the kitchen. Oh, it's Genji. Did you lend Maria an umbrella? An umbrella? What are you talking about? Well, I heard that when it started raining, Maria was alone in the rose garden. It seems she borrowed an umbrella from someone there, but we don't know who it was. It wasn't me. After all, I actually thought Maria was in the guest house. When Maria first found her, she was already holding an outright umbrella. My apologies, but it was not me either. Then could it actually be the master? Both the dining hall right here and everyone had stated they hadn't done it. That left only Kinzo, but maybe he went walking down the corridor for some reason when he just happened to see Maria in the rose garden without even an umbrella. The master is not particularly fond of Maria. I agree. I can't imagine that for Maria's sake he'd go to all the trouble of descending down the stairs with an umbrella. Oh my, how troublesome. Does that mean the one who lent Maria an umbrella really was Beatrice? Kumasawa laughed, as the relatives in the dining hall who had laughed it off. She couldn't think of any other way to break through the smoke revealing the curtain's situation. Just then the crisp sound of hands clapping twice rang through the hallway. They all turned around at once to see Goda coming out of the dining hall. Okay, everyone. When serving a dinner, proper timing while setting the table is essential. Please immediately see to setting out the soup. Genji, the women are in the middle of an important job, so please don't get in their way. Kanon glared at Goda for being rude to Genji, a person Kanon respected. Genji, realizing this, patted Kanon once on the shoulder as a warning. Canon reluctantly turned away and returned his expression to normal. Sorry, I don't keep my pronunciations consistent. So it just slips out. Okay, it's not like I'm whatevering. One day I'll just redo it or something. Obey Goda's instructions. Hurry and prepare dinner for the table. Come now, there's no time. Don't dawdle. Hurry! Goda grabbed the serving cart from Shannon and slowly pushed it toward the kitchen. Then please allow us to return to the kitchen. After all, Goda's temper is very short.
Please excuse me as well.
Kumasawa and Shannon left. Only Genji and Canon remained. Through the window, the darkness of the rainy night could be seen, along with the occasional thunderbolt. Genji, did Beatrice really return? I don't know. Shall I inform the master? That is not necessary. If she truly has returned, she'll eventually be prepared before the master of her own accord. Furthermore, she is a fickle person. It would be pointless to report to the master only to find that she does not appear. I wonder if this means the master's ceremony has already begun. Probably. However, that has nothing to do with furniture like us. We must continue to return the favor we receive from the master until our final moments. Yes, that is furniture's duty. The thunder crashed once more, except for those instants when the lightning lit up the sky. Nothing could be seen out the window but the darkness of the night. Just as humans rule when the sun is up, those that are not human rule when the sun is down. The darkness of the night that now surrounded Rokkenjima was ruled by another master, not the Ushiromiya family. Did this master take pity on Maria when she was alone, being pummeled by the rain in the rose garden, lending her an umbrella? Canon looked at the rose garden's lights, dimly visible beyond the window. The dim lights weren't enough to illuminate the surrounding area. Looking at those lights felt like making eye contact with the witch, and Canon forced himself to avert his gaze. If he didn't, it felt like his eyes would be absorbed by that light. Can weather change how people act? You often hear stories about how things like atmospheric pressure can influence people's moods and physical health. Ugh, yep. For some time now, everyone had been struggling to clear the gloomy atmosphere, but any conversation was quickly cut off. In the end, the dining hall was simply filled by the sound of rain. Dessert was some kind of chocolate cake accompanied by pear sherbet. Goda enthusiastically explained the recipe as soon as this final dish was prepared, but I quickly forgot the details. The guest of honor, grandfather, was absent and the weather was horrible. The identity of the one who lent Maria an umbrella remained a mystery. When dinner ended, no one even felt one bit refreshed. That would be an issue for you, not for me. It was too late now, but I painfully realized that taste wasn't the only important part of the meal. The whole atmosphere was also critical. That's an issue for you, not my issue at all. Koro was the supposed conductor of this musical piece called Dinner, did his best to enliven the place, dropping little jokes left and right, but apparently not one of them succeeded. I always just eat, who cares? After taking orders for after-dinner coffee, tea, and orange juice, he left for the kitchen. As soon as he disappeared, Uncle Krause spoke. My, what a waste that dinner Goda worked so hard to create was met with such a gloomy atmosphere. Yes, absolutely. It just feels like nothing would taste good today. Oh, I'd like to know why you feel that way. Later on, I'll do all I can as your older brother to help cheer you up. I don't know how that feels like. I think I've had very few moments where I was really sad and I didn't want to eat at all. Like, food is one of the things that cheers me right up. Okay? Food is one of the only things in my life that I can trust. Aunt Ava grimaced slightly. I already heard she wasn't on good terms with Uncle Krause, but it was pretty clear now. When I looked around, I noticed my father and Aunt Rosa were also grimacing. Apparently, there was something beside the weather troubling all of them. Both Aunt Ava and my dad aren't looking too happy. Really? I don't think so. I asked Natsuki, who was sitting on my right, but she seemed to be in a bad mood as well. She snapped back as if to say she was absolutely not interested. Well, our adult conversation got a little complicated. It's something kids like you need to worry about, Balor. Isn't that right, Natsuki, Kyrie? Uncle Hideyoshi laughed as he spoke, but without his usual brightness, so I could vaguely imagine just how complicated their adult conversation had become. On top of that, even Aunt Natsuki and Kyrie, the people he had directed his comment to, ignored him as though they hadn't heard anything. I didn't know what kind of conversation they'd been having while us kids were away, but it reminded me of how Dad said he had stomach cramps when we arrived in the mansion. The family conference might have been a playful reunion to us kids, but it was definitely different for the adults. I'm really not interested in adult drama. I've known people who've argued all their life. Like, people who are interested in shit like that pisses me off. I really don't give a shit. But I'll read all those scenes when they pop up throughout Umineko, okay? The adult argument to me is like hearing the Higurashi Oyashiro's curse over and over and over again. It's fucking boring to me. Alright? So anyway, after Uncle Hideyoshi's comment was ignored by the other adults, an awkward silence fell over the room and Kyrie spoke up. We were talking about how the kids' careers would turn out, such as what lies in your future, Battler. Will you just drift on to college? Wouldn't that be a little disheartening as a starting line for the long race of life? Hey, wait a sec! Kyrie, if you start talking about something like that in the middle of a meal, it won't digest well and we'll all end up being constipated. That's right, we were talking about Battler and Jessica's careers. You gotta think seriously about the future. Hideyoshi hardly agreed, as if they really had been talking about that, but that was probably all wrong. Kyrie had always been trying to change the subject. However, if Kyrie had been determined that this was the best course of action for now, she was probably right. Taking this into account, I cast aside my suspicions as the cause behind Aunt Ava and Dad's bad moods. At long last, the servant cart returned, filled with coffee and tea. Kumasawa and Shannon served it to everyone. Goda then explained that this concluded tonight's meal. If only the mood had been more cheery, it might have been the best dinner of my life. It was a shame this best of dinners couldn't have been under the best conditions.
Ah! George, is dinner over now? Over?
Yes, with this dinner is finished. Don't be rude. Stay in your seat and calmly drink up.
Ah!
Maria looked like she was really excited by the occasionally crashing thunder. Maybe she wanted to quickly finish eating and run over to the window. She'd been fidgeting for a while now, waiting for the meal to end. Some people are afraid of thunder, while others find it interesting, and Maria's apparently one of the latter of the sort. Not me, I hate it. Therefore, when she heard from George that dinner was over, a huge smile broke across her face. Then she rose from her seat, took out from her handbag which she set under her seat, never having left it while she was eating, and began fishing around inside of it. No one seemed particularly concerned by this behavior. What's that? Where'd you get it? George was the first to notice it. As he spoke, Battler noticed it too. They saw that Maria was holding a beautiful Western-style envelope. On the front of the envelope, the Ushiramiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, was done in gold leaf. Furthermore, the fact that it was sealed with dark red wax made it clear it wasn't something Maria could have brought as a prank. Maria, what is that? It seemed that Natsuki had also noticed the strangeness of the envelope Maria was holding. Her voice sounded too serious for someone admonishing a small child. The relatives around us finally noticed too. What happened, Natsuki? What is that? Maria, where did you pick that up? That envelope has Kinzo's. When Nanjo muttered that, even us kids can understand why everyone seemed to be frozen solid. That envelope Maria held was one of the Ushiramiya family head's custom-made envelopes for private use. In other words, it could only mean one thing. This envelope contained a message from Kinzo. Oh, what is an envelope like that doing here? Now that's an interesting thing to come jumping out at us. Just let me have a peek.
Ah! No way, I'll read it! I was told to read it to everyone!
Uncle Hideyoshi tried to snatch the envelope out of Maria's hands, but she protected it as though hugging it and didn't let go. Hideyoshi, you can't use force against a child. Maria, where did you get this envelope?
Beatrice when she gave me an umbrella. She told me to read to everyone after the meal was over. I'm the witch's messenger. Ah!
Messenger? The almighty witch of the island sure likes to mess around. Valor tried to joke about it, but no one laughed. I wonder what's written inside of it, Maria.
Ah! Gonna read it! Ah!
Maria casually opened the envelope. It was sealed only with wax, so she just had to remove the sealing wax to open it. That sealing wax fell onto the desk. Hideyoshi hastily picked it up and stared fixedly at it. He set it in the center of the table, where Natsuhi, Kiri, and Nanjo stared at it. Imprinted in the sealing wax was the one-winged eagle, which was the Ushiramiya family's crest and also Kinzo's personal crest. This is the family head's personal crest. I know it from the letters I've received from Kinzo before. Without a doubt, this is his wax seal. But aren't there several things in this mansion bearing that crest? For example, if there's something kind of stamp for wax seals, couldn't someone other than Kinzo have used it? No, Kinzo would always use a ring on his finger as proof of the Ushiramiya family headship when he sealed the wax. The shape and complex design is definitely Kinzo's seal. That is not necessarily so. Anyone in the family must have received a letter from your father at least once. We can't eliminate the possibility that someone had used that wax as a model to create a fake seal and pass themselves off as father. I agree with Aniki. No matter how much the seal resembles Dad's, we can't prove that it's the real thing, so it doesn't prove that this envelope came from him. I absolutely agree. I cannot approve of arbitrarily deciding that this letter came from Father, based solely on the wax seal. Dr. Nanjo, couldn't you use a bit more discretion with your vague words? I apologize. It was not my place to speak. One after another, all the siblings from Cross and on downwards rejected Nanjo's statement, saying that the envelope Maria held wasn't necessarily from Kinzo. They were afraid. They feared from the bottom of their hearts that Kinzo's intentions were written in there, and that there might be some announcement regarding the inheritance that would be decidedly unfavorable to them. Maria, the person who gave you that envelope was the same person who lent you that umbrella, right?
Ah!
I don't know what "ooh" means. Is it true?
Yes.
So, in other words, the witch, Beatrice, gave Maria that envelope along with that umbrella?
Ah!
Maria nodded forcefully. I agree with my husband. It's a dubious letter handed over by some suspicious person. It isn't even worth reading. There's nothing wrong with just reading it, right? Valor said to Jessica in a small voice, trying to act tough, but Natsu heard clearly and glared at him with threatening eyes. And then... Beatrice told you to read it after the meal was over, right, Maria?
Ah!
It's okay, everyone. This envelope didn't come out from Grandfather, but from Beatrice. Regardless of who actually wrote it. Why we can't just hear what's inside before we decide? That's right! Even if Father didn't necessarily write it, I'd still like to know what was written inside. Maria, I'm sorry I tried to take it from you by force earlier. I apologize. So will you read it out loud in front of everyone? Maria, read it.
Ah!
As all the relatives stared fiercely at Maria, she spread the letter open with a rustle. Do you think it really came from Dad? Impossible! Whenever Father has announced something to us in the past, he would always send in Genji if he didn't do it directly, correct? I cannot believe that he would use such a joke-like approach. That's right. Maria, a messenger. That definitely doesn't suit Father's tastes. Rosa, could this be Maria trying to surprise us with prints on some kind of show? Maria isn't really a kid who's capable of something so thoughtful.
Gonna read it! Ah!
The words came out of Maria's mouth, but for some reason, her voice seemed different than usual. Everyone suddenly went silent.
Welcome to Rokenjima, members of the Ushiramiya family. I am Beatrice, the alchemist for the family employed by Kinzo himself.
Ha! That's crazy! Quiet!
I have served him for many years in accordance with our contract, but on this day Kinzo has announced the final suspension of that contract. Therefore, I ask that you acknowledge my resignation from the position of family alchemist from this day forth.
How foolish! What nonsense! I can't stand to listen to it!
And now that there is one part of the contract that must be explained to all present, I, Beatrice, sent Kinzo a vast quantity of gold under certain terms. One of these terms specifies that all the gold is to be returned to me upon termination of the contract. Furthermore, I am to receive everything of the Ushiromiya family as interest.
Ridiculous! It's been ridiculous from the very beginning. So it's basically one of those things, right? Doesn't it sound like one of those contracts with the devil? The contract expired, so they come to collect the interest. Is she even trying to grab some retirement money for her old age or something? What a cheeky witch! Battler, now isn't the time to joke around. Battler made a face as if to ask, if I can't make fun of this, what can I make fun of? Some of the adults' faces were pale, while others looked dazed.
After hearing this, you may feel as though Kinzo has been savagely ruthless. However, Kinzo did append a special clause to the contract so that you would have a chance to preserve your wealth and honor. If and only if that special clause is fulfilled, I will lose my rights to the gold and interest for all eternity.
As a special clause? What is it?
Special clause. Beatrice retains the rights to collect the gold and accumulate interest upon the termination of the contract. However, if someone is able to discover the hidden goal of this contract, Beatrice must abandon these rights for all time. The collection of interest will proceed shortly, but if any one of you fulfills the terms of this special clause, I shall return everything, including the portion that has already been collected. Furthermore, as the first step in this collection of Kinzo's debt, I have taken possession of the Ushiromiya family's head ring, which signifies the passage of the Ushiromiya family's headship from one individual to another. I ask that you confirm this for yourselves by examining the imprint on the wax seal.
Are they trying to claim that that's the meaning behind the seal? That Father would relinquish his ring is unthinkable! Kraus stared at the sealing wax as if trying to burn a hole through it. Ava and Rudolph were doing the same thing over his shoulder. Come to think of it, when we were playing chess, I did have a strange feeling that something was missing from Kinzo's finger. Dr. Nanjo! Don't say something so careless just because of a vague memory! We can't prove its authenticity here. Only by asking Father directly can we determine whether he really handed over his ring and whether this letter tells the truth. That's right! It's just as Kyrie says. Do you really think Kinzo would tell you? After all, that person's thoughts sometimes surpass the bounds of common sense. No matter what happens, it's still nonsense. In the first place, the illusion of the gold itself was one of Father's tricks. I've already heard enough talk of that gold from the rest of you. But this is the witch speaking, right? About how the inheritance and all the assets will be handed over to the one who finds the gold, right? So maybe Beatrice is Father's legal advisor, in charge of his funds. We can't possibly trust some strange person who entrusts a suspicious paper to a child! Aniki, we need you to be frank with us. Is it possible Dad's assets are being managed by someone you don't know? No, that's impossible! As the family head's representative, I control all of Father's assets! It should be impossible for anyone to do as they please with them without me knowing it!
So this must mean that there are some assets you don't control, right, Kraus?
How foolish! Such assets could not possibly exist! Oh, but there is such a thing. An asset of Father that you don't control. There's no way such a thing could exist! No, it does! It's Father's, no, Beatrice's hidden gold! Let's keep it simple. In short, Dad's some trusted confidant that Aniki doesn't even know about. Furthermore, this person has always been in charge of watching and managing the gold, or it could be some eccentric rich person who offered him a loan with the rules like a devil's contract.
Could it be this confidant called Beatrice is trying to test which of Kinzo's children is most worthy to be financed by her gold?
Kirie's question was the one all the siblings wanted answered. Upon reflection, they realized Kinzo's strange epitaph had hung in the hall beneath the witch's portrait for quite some time. And while it had been long whispered that whoever solved the puzzle would receive everything, no one had ever clearly stated it. It was just something that everyone had hoped might be true. And right here, right now, The thing they hoped for had been clearly stated in Beatrice's letter. It clearly specified that everything of the Ushiromiya family would be given to the one who found the gold.
Kinzo has already publicly displayed the location of the hidden gold within the epitaph under my portrait. The rules apply equally to all who can read the epitaph. If you discover the gold, I shall return everything to you. Tonight I ask that you enjoy your battle of wits with Kinzo to the fullest. I sincerely pray that this night will be both intellectual and elegant. Beatrice the Golden.
Father, I know you can hear me! Please respond! The door to Kinzo's study was being violently, harshly beaten over and over again like a percussion instrument. The yells coming from the other side belonged to Kraus, Rudolph, and sometimes Ava. It was the siblings who were trying to intrude upon Kinzo's study to question him about the truth behind that mysterious letter. Kinzo was eating. An elegant tablecloth was set over the desk. The fabulous dinner had been adorned. The table down the dining hall was reproduced here. Kinzo continued his meal in silence. Shannon, taking away an empty plate, looked uncomfortably between the door being pounded on and Kinzo's face.
Everyone is calling for you. But what should I do?
Leave them! God and my meals both hold silence as a virtue. Should I silence them? There's no need. It does not even reach my ears. Kinzo enjoyed his food, apparently indifferent. Genji quietly lowered his head and took a single step back. As he did, Kanon, who stood in reserve like a shadow behind, and to the side of Genji, opened his mouth. Maria apparently received a letter from Beatrice, so I imagine they want to test its authenticity. Ha ha ha! Has she started already then? Come, Beatrice. I have no shortage of coins to be wagered. Shall we enjoy this night to the fullest? I don't think I'll lose. Your smile will be mine for all eternity. If only I could see it one more time, I wouldn't regret losing my wealth, my honor, or even my life. Well then, the roulette has begun to spin. Which pocket will the ball fall into? Noir, Rouge, or House takes all? Come, you may begin, Beatrice. I shall show you the power of miracles once more! Okay. Yeah, I can't read, like, Kinzo's voice because I'm not a man. Sorry if it doesn't sound very good. And do we have any tips unlocked? Ah, the witch's letter. I don't think I kept Maria's her witch voice thing consistent. Sorry. So anyway. Alright, we're gonna stop for tonight. Bye-bye!